Nana Miriam. In a village where only men are warriors, the greatest warrior is a young woman. Once in a small village by the great river Niger, there lived a man named Faramaka and his daughter, Nana Miriam. Now Faramaka was a tall man, tall as a tree. He had arms as strong as tree limbs, legs as thick as roots, and he was ugly, very ugly. His daughter, Nana Miriam, was tall and strong like her father, but as ugly as he was, she was that beautiful and smart, very smart. Faramaka was proud of his tall, strong, beautiful, smart daughter, and he taught her all he knew. He taught her the names of things, perch and tigerfish in the river, acacia and doom palm trees, and the growing herbs on the land. He taught her the names and the uses of all things. Nana Miriam learned everything her father taught her, and she learned one thing more, for she had magic powers that no one knew about. But she did not tell anyone of those powers, for it was said by her people, "He who boasts much can do little." Now at that time which we're talking about, not now or then but somewhere in between, a great hippopotamus lived in the Niger. But it was no ordinary hippopotamus. It was a monster with an insatiable hunger, and every time the rice crop, the main food of the Songhai people, was ready to be harvested, the monster hippopotamus rose up out of the river Niger, water raining off its gigantic back. It waddled onto the land and devoured the entire crop. Time after time, season after season, the monster ranged up the river and down, devouring the rice for miles. And at last, this caused a famine in the land. The village warriors went out with their spears, sharpened and ready, to hunt the monster, but they could do nothing against it, for it was a shapeshifter as well. Whenever a spear was thrown at the hippopotamus' broadside, the animal changed, sometimes into a crocodile or a manatee. Once it even became a 200-pound perch and swam quickly away. Faramaka went out to hunt the beast, carrying 7 spears. When he found the monster at last, the beast opened its great mouth and roared. There were pots of fire hanging around its gigantic neck. Faramaka's knees trembled, but still he threw his spears at the monster, one by one, and each time the spears were destroyed by the pots of fire, bursting into flame like shooting stars. The monster roared again, as if laughing at Faramaka, before turning its back and going on to the next field of rice. What could Faramaka do? He went to Karadigi Malfozifazi, a member of the neighbouring Tama people, who had a reputation for hunting nearly as great as his own. "Will you hunt this beast with me?" asked Faramaka. Karadigi Malfozifazi agreed. "And I will bring along my 120 hunting dogs." "That is good," said Faramaka. To the 120 hunting dogs made him nervous, for each had an iron chain around its neck, and teeth that were pointed and eyes that shone in the dark. So Faramaka and Karadigi Malfozifazi went out on the trail of the monster with the 120 hunting dogs. It was not a difficult trail to find, for the giant hippopotamus left a path of destruction wherever it went. Soon they came upon the monster, and the dogs were turned loose, one by one. Their chains rattled as they ran, and they gnashed their pointed teeth, and they bayed at the hippopotamus, who turned lazily to meet them. The monster saw the dogs and just laughed. "Do you people who live on the Niger not say that the rat cannot call the cat to account?" And with that, one by one, the monster hippopotamus grabbed up each dog, turned it around and swallowed it whole, starting with the tail. When the last dog was devoured, the monster turned its back on Faramaka and Karadigi Malfozifazi and waddled back to the rice field, where it consumed the last of the crop. Faramaka and Karadigi Malfozifazi ran off in terror, and they ran all the way back to Faramaka's house. There, trembling, they told Nana Miriam what had happened. "Well," said Nana Miriam, standing up, "it is time for me to see this monster for myself." Faramaka trembled. "Daughter, you are strong and you are wise, but no hunter's spear can touch that thing. No hunter's dog can fight it. Do not go." Karadigi Malfozifazi agreed. "You are but a female," he said. "Listen to your father. Do we not say ashes fly back into the face of him who throws them? This is too dangerous a thing for a new girl." But Nana Miriam would not be persuaded. She went forth anyway, a spear in her hand, her juju bag filled with charms in the other. It was not long before she came upon the monster, who was devouring yet another rice field on the banks of the river. When the hippopotamus saw her, it stopped eating and turned. It smiled a broad hippopotamus smile, showing its strong hippopotamus teeth. "Girl, girl, I know why you're here. You wish to stop me." "That I do," said Nana Miriam. "But do you not know that no human being can kill me?" said the hippopotamus. "All the hunters in your village have tried. Your father, Faramarca, has tried. Even Cardigimau Fosifazi and his 120 dogs have tried. What makes you think a mere girl can stop me?" Nana Miriam put down the spear and held the juju bag up. "We will not know the answer to that until we engage in battle. I am ready if you are, monster." The monster smiled again, and this time it gave more than a mere hippopotamus smile. "I am ready, girl!" The shout was full of flames, which set the rice field afire. Soon a wall of fire sprang up between the monster and Nana Miriam. Nana Miriam reached into her juju bag and pulled out a magic powder. She flung the powder onto the fire, and at once the flames turned to water, which rained down upon the field. "That was too easy, monster," she said. "Ah!" shouted the hippopotamus. "What will you do with this then, girl?" And at its shout, a wall of iron appeared between them. Nana Miriam reached back into the juju bag, and this time she took out a small magic hammer that grew and grew into a great magic. One blow, then another, Nana Miriam pounded the hammer against the iron wall, and in a matter of minutes, the wall was broken into small pieces by the force of her blows. "Do you have something more?" cried Nana Miriam. "Or is that all?" For the first time, the hippopotamus monster looked nervous. Lines of worry appeared on its broad brow. Perspiration flowed freely down its face. It turned from Nana Miriam and shifted its shape, becoming a river that flowed swiftly towards the Niger. But Nana Miriam was ready. Once more she reached into her juju bag and took out a magic lotion and sprayed it over the monster river. In a twinkling, the river dried up only inches away from the Niger, and the monster turned once again into a hippopotamus. At this very moment, Faramarca appeared, worried about his dear daughter. Cardigimau Fosifazi was by his side, and when the monster saw the two men, it forgot about the mere girl who was bothering it and charged at them, passing right by Nana Miriam. Nana Miriam reached out, grabbed the hind leg of the hippopotamus and picked the monster up, twirling it 3 times around her head. Remember, she was very strong. She threw the monster across the Niger, which was, as luck would have it, not in flood at the time. The monster smashed into a cliff of rocks on the other shore. Its skull cracked wide open, and so the rocks killed it. It was not killed by a human being. Faramarca held out his arms and Nana Miriam ran into them. "What a wonderful daughter I have," he said. "What a wonderful papa I have," said Nana Miriam. When they returned to the village, their story preceded them, for Cardigimau Fosifazi had reported all that he had seen. There was singing and dancing and feasting as well. And from that time to this, no Songhai have starved because of monster hippopotamuses. And from that day to this, the minstrels and storytellers have sung and told about Nana Miriam, who showed all the power of a mere girl.